We're talking about squat technique, and we're going to talk about one part in particular, and it's the knees collapsing in, both as you go up and as you go down. First of all, we're going to talk about the problems that can create. Then we're just going to look at some simple solutions about how we can maintain the proper posture and technique of the knees as you go down and up in the squat. If you want to improve your squat technique, be it back squat or front squat, deadlift technique, then please do just click the link below, go through to my mobility workshop page, and you can come and join me here at the gym for a 2-hour workshop where we'll go through a full consultation and assessment of your squat and your body, and then we'll put the two together to be able to get the best squat technique possible for you. So again, just click the link below, go through, sign up and get started. There are a few problems the knee collapsing in can cause. Number one is the shear force to the inside of the knee. So if I show you what I mean, so if I just grab this way, I'm just going to do a goblet squat. So I'll demonstrate first. So as you go down, knees come in, and then as you come up, again, knees kick inwards. So as you go down and you're going into that sort of bottom position and the knees are collapsing in, all that's happening is the femur here is getting driven to the inside of the knee. So it's putting additional load and stress on the medial ligaments on both sides or on one side, depending on which knee is being or is tracking inwards. So what we want to be able to do, just to correct that fault, which is what the purpose of this tutorial is all about, is get the knees out. So what we should be doing is, as we're looking down, obviously the knees want to come forward, but we should be seeing the knees towards the outside of the feet. That's doing a lot of things for the hip, for the squat, for the knee, which I'll talk about next. Secondly is muscle imbalances. And we're talking about muscle imbalances of the abductors on the outside of the hip and the adductors on the inside of the leg. Now all that's happening here is as we're coming in, we're dropping down, the knees are folding inwards, that's shutting the glutes off. Now that's a poor thing that's happening in the squat, because we're deactivating the abductors, the glute medius, glute minimus, we're activating the adductors. So that muscle imbalance is in part creating that crashing of the knee inwards, but also what it's doing, it's unstabilizing the hip, it's unstabilizing the back, and it's unstabilizing the knee. One of the effects that can come off the back of that is then the collapsing of the arch, and then that can affect ankle range of movement or how much the ankles are moving, and then that can have a knock-on effect into how you position your feet and if you go too wide. So all of these have a knock-on effect. So we've got number one, which is the shear forces on the inside of the knee, and then two, the muscle imbalances that can either be creating that or can be a knock-on effect of that. Finally, we've got reducing of squat depth or reducing of hip flexion. Now, depending on the type of hip that you have, can depend on how much this is affected. But what effectively is happening, this bone here is known as the femur. Now, as the knees come inwards, the femur will get stuck and hit against the pelvis. If we come to the outside, the femur moves out of the way. So as we go down, the femur is out of the way and I can get down that much further. But if I'm in here, I can only get down this far. So again, as I come down with my knees out, my femur is out the way and my pelvis can get down. Now as I bring my knee in, you'll watch how my pelvis has to go up. Like so. So it's down here, or it's up here. Down here, or up here. And that's just simply because two structures can't be in the same space. So when the femur or when the knee is out, the femur is out the way of the pelvis. When the knee crashes in, the pelvis meets the femur meets the pelvis, and they can't be in the same place. So you're restricting your range of movement in that way. So there are these problems that the valgus knee can create. So step one in creating this, we're going to use a resistance band, just a small little resistance band and a kettlebell. We're just going to perform a goblet squat with a band around the knees. Now we're using this band for the very simple reason that because the band is pulling your knees in, you have to consciously push them out. So it gives you something to resist against. If you're just doing or certainly to start with, if you're just doing it with the knees being free, what you may find is there's a sort of a wobbling of the knee and the muscles aren't communicating correctly. But what the band gives the muscles of the hip is that clear communication in where we want them to go. So we have the band around, then all we're going to do, we're going to come up into the goblet squat. Now as you go down, you push the knees out. As you come up, you want to keep the knees out, but let them gradually just come back into their normal position at the start. So it's very simple. You just come down, push the knees out, get into that bottom position, keeping the knees out, and then keep the knees out, but just let them come back in gradually. So again, what you're not doing is you're not just going down and letting the band pull your knees in. You're trying to keep them out. But then as you come up, what you're not doing is you're not just letting the band pull your knees in like that and then standing up. You're consciously, because they do want to come, because you've pushed them out, you do want them to come back in as you stand up. So you come down, but you control it as you come back in. So there's some eccentric work going through glute medius, glute minimus, as well as the concentric work going in as you go down. So all of those are very simple steps to be able to manage what the knee's doing. And as you get better at it, so when you first start doing something like this with the band, what you may find is that there's sort of like a knee wobble because your muscles aren't used to being engaged like they are with a band, because the band forces your muscles to work as long as you're pushing the knees out as you go down and maintaining a smooth inward movement of the knee as you come up. So again, what we're looking for is that smooth movement down, pushing the knees out, and then that smooth movement inwards as you come back up. In this second part, we're going to do exactly the same as we did before, but this time it's just going to be with the kettlebell. We're not going to use the band, because what the band was doing, that was helping guide us where we wanted the knee to go, and it was giving us resistance in some respects to give us some good feedback to tell us where our knees are and what they're doing. So once we've got nice smooth movement with the band going down and coming back in, so we've got that concentric as we go down, eccentric as we go back up, what we're now in a position to do is take the band away. We're going to use exactly the same weight. We're not changing anything. The only thing that we're doing is not having the band around the knee. So we're still going to use the front squat. What this will help do is it will help us understand how the glute muscles are working and how well they're working. So we're controlling what the knee's doing. Now, what we can do is we can introduce what the feet need to do when we get to this point, because the feet and the hips will influence what the knee can do. So where we have feet parallel, there is a time and a place to start bringing the toes out, but if we come out much further than 15 degrees, then you're losing the work from the glute muscles. So we want to try and keep them parallel if we can. What you're then going to do is as if your feet are like screwdrivers in a screw, and you're just going to turn them in your shoes, gripping the floor, turning the toes or the outside of the foot out and the heel inwards. And then you're going to hold that position. And what that will automatically do, that will tell the knees where to go, because you're externally rotating at the hip, and in some respects, so the feet follow, the knees will come out automatically. So, and again, what we're looking for is that smooth movement. So if you have got a mirror, like I've got just there, I can go side on and I can watch exactly what my knees are doing. So I'm in a good position there, and then I can bring them in smoothly as I come back up. So again, all the way, I've got all of that. So what I'm doing is keeping the shear forces away from the inside of the knee. I'm keeping the femur away from the pelvis. I'm getting the muscles to balance correctly. So just by performing it better or more correctly, then I'm moving away from all those faults just by adding in that proper technique. If you found this helpful and you want some more help with your squat, your deadlift, or just everyday mobility, then please do just click the link below, go through, enter your details, and we'll get you booked in for your consultation, assessment, and full workshop of the squat and the deadlift, and then we'll get you set up with a program after so you can improve your technique for the squat, for the deadlift, for the front or the back squat.